All right. Hello. Hello. Thank you guys all for being here today for Fall Premiere 2021 in the virtual space. We're happy that you're joining us today. If this is your first session, welcome. If it's not your first session, then we're thankful that you're here as well and hope you're avoiding that Zoom fatigue and getting your coffee and your screen time and all that good stuff. I'm Jordan. I'll be the moderator for this session, and I am going to go ahead and turn it over to our School of Social Work's Associate Dean.
Hello, happy Saturday to you. I am Melody Zuniga. I am the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs with the Garland School. So I have the pleasure of working with our program director, who you'll see her name there, Lucy Ramos Hoppy. She's our BSW program director, and she and I work together to oversee our BSW program. So excited to share a little bit about what social work is and what it would look like to be here at Baylor studying social work. So some of you may have heard a lot about what social work is or may have not. So let's talk a little bit about what that is. It's a helping profession. That's probably what has drawn you to this session or drawn you to wonder, would social work be a right fit for you? Social work is a career, a very versatile career where you are professionally entering into roles where you're trying to make society a better place, just to improve overall well-being in society, and with this particular focus on vulnerable populations. And you're also trying to, it's this cool combination of trying to improve programs and structures in society, and also trying to work with people that live in a society, trying to help them learn how to cope with society and with what they are living through in challenging times and in good times. You'll see there the mission of our school is to prepare social workers in a Christian context. That is what you'll be getting here at Baylor for worldwide service and leadership. We do not stray away from anything related to what is expected of all social workers in the profession, but we talk about those things and struggle with those hard aspects of life in the world in a Christian context and led by faith that helps sustain us and give us a purpose. I mentioned it's a helping profession, but it is a professional degree. This is not just a line of studying that now you've got some knowledge, so what do you do with it? But social work is a professional degree. It's actually a protected title in Texas. You cannot get a job in Texas that is labeled for a social worker unless you have a social work degree from an accredited school and a license. And when you graduate from your BSW program, you are ready to take that licensing test. And many of our students add on one more year and get their master's degree. In just 5 years, you can have a master's degree and bachelor's degree in social work with our program here. That also means you can't be saying, oh yeah, sure, I'm a social worker legally, and putting that on your business card, putting that in your title, if you don't hold those things. And here at Baylor, we are ready to prepare you to hold those things. What do social workers do? I talked about it being a very versatile profession, and so I want to, I won't go through all of these. You may be straining your eyes to see, but you can see these are just some examples of the wide array of positions and roles that people can hold with a social work educational background and with a social work license. I'm trying to look through there to see the ones that I've been able to hold in my professional degree. But you'll see there are things that are administrator, big picture, running organizations, down to a child advocate, a case manager, a crisis therapist, working just directly with people who are struggling with the hard things that life can bring. Social workers jump into those hard things and say, we will figure this out together. You can get through this. I'm here with you. And they bring a particular skill set and knowledge background that helps people figure out what it looks like to take the next step forward when life hits us with hard things. You'll see there are things with people in hospitals, in psychiatric clinics, in community centers. Social workers are in every setting you can think of where people come for help, or in any kind of setting that's thinking, how do we strengthen, promote, educate? There are social workers there. My own experience as a social worker, I worked as a case manager, I've worked as a therapist, and I've worked as what's called a forensic interviewer, where you see forensic case monitor is the wording there, but my particular training was a forensic interviewer working with children who were navigating um, the process of investigating if they had been abused or if they had witnessed a crime. I was the person that could speak with them, but not just speak with them to really hear their story through their own words, but also support their family through what comes next, advocate for the truth and for the child's story to be respected with law enforcement, speaking in court. We're all parts of that role. Even in any one of these roles, you'll see how social workers begin to do a wide variety of things in those roles because of the uniqueness of our training. One of the things that sets social workers apart from other therapists or people who are looking at those kinds of support systems is the way we really look at what's happening within a person, biologically, psychologically, emotionally, what's happening around a person in their smaller environment, and what's happening in the world that all impact how someone is enjoying, healing from, struggling with, flourishing within their environment, and how can we use that knowledge as well as that person or that community's own strengths to help them move forward, to help them flourish again when they may find themselves in difficulty. Okay, so you can study social work anywhere. Why study social work at Baylor? We'll talk a little bit about what makes the Garland School different. One of the things that I hope you are experiencing today is just that Baylor is such a unique place. My hope and what I expect, because it was my experience as a student too, is that you will find that Baylor feels like home. Baylor feels like an extension of your family, a building of a new additional growing family. And at the Garland School, it really matters to us that we are a warm, caring community as well. One of the things that is unique about our school that we're so thankful for and find really essential to the way we look at social work and working with suffering and supporting people who are suffering is the idea of ethically integrating faith and practice. And that doesn't mean that we're figuring out how to insert this one kind of faith into what we do with our clients, but to realize that when people are hurting, their faith is a part of how they are coping. Their faith may be a part of the community that will support them. Their faith may be the way they're just holding on, trusting that a higher power, that God has them. Or maybe their faith is a part of what's hurting them because they don't feel like they can be themselves in their community anymore. Maybe it was a friend from their faith community or that kind of thing that was a part of their hard situation. That's all a part of what people wrestle with, right? When we're scared, when we're hurt, we cling to our faith, or we wonder where our higher power was in this situation, or we look to our faith for hope. And that matters. It also matters as social workers when we're jumping into these hard stories that we think about how our own faith motivates us or sustains us. And that is something we talk about and try to stay mindful of at the Garland School of Social Work. We also try to keep small class sizes. So at Baylor, you're going to take some core classes where maybe you're in a big auditorium with a lot of students, but when you're in the social work major, you may have a class of 20 with 25 students in it, maybe for an elective, but most of the time you're going to have more like 15 to 20 students max in your classes, because we really do value the teacher and student relationship, the ability to wrestle back and forth with the concepts and approaches that we're talking about, and so that there's space for everybody to have a voice, to hear each other out in these small class sizes, and to build relationships with your faculty. Speaking of building relationships with your faculty, we also have a faculty mentoring program for each semester once you're in the major, and if you continue into that 5th year to get a master's degree, where you can say, sure, sign me up, I would like a faculty mentor. And you get paired with a faculty member, a full-time faculty member at the School of Social Work, to just hear from them, ask them questions, not just about, oh, what class do I take next, or those kinds of things that your advisors can help you with, but how did you decide the right area of social work for you? How do you deal with it when it gets hard? How did you build networks to figure out who you'd rely on when you're, navigating situations with clients. What's it like to enter into this kind of social work, those kinds of things. You can sit and have conversations with a faculty member about that and really develop yourself as a budding social worker. I just got to meet with my student mentee earlier this week, and it was great to just get to know each other, get to know what her interests were in social work, and really start to think, what does it look like to build a network to prepare yourself for that kind of work. So that was fun. So that's something that I hope you would take part in if you came. We also are so excited about our space. We have our own space in the heart of downtown Waco. So not too far, just across the highway. We are in the middle of downtown. The beautiful building even has an escalator in downtown Waco, where once you're in the major, your social work classes, all our offices are down there. So we are down the street from Child Protective Services, from the sheriff's office, from the EOAC that helps, families that are struggling with income for things to get what they need, place for food pantries and homeless shelters. We are down there in the middle of it, in the city, doing the work with the city. And so we love our space and hope if you come for a tour in person, say, hey, what about the School of Social Work? And let them point you that way. It's on 811 Washington Avenue in Waco. I mentioned earlier our 5-year program. This is something we really encourage our majors to take advantage of, because just stick around for one more year and you will have a master's degree in social work. So for our students who are meeting expectations, keeping a good GPA, making B's or better in their social work courses, they can move right through senior year, graduate, great. That fall, you start a master's program. That next spring, you graduated with your master's degree. So in 5 years, 2 levels of social work degrees, and you are ready for an even broader opening of the kinds of positions and leadership you can hold with your Master of Social Work degree. We do have some joint degrees that sometimes when students are in the master's program, they stick around for that 5th year, or students who maybe majored in something else but wondered about social work and now want to come take a 2-year path to completing the social work program. That's also a possibility. And in the master's program, we have joint degrees. So students can choose just to do the MSW program. That's plenty enough to jump into social work. But sometimes we have students that also choose to pair that with a Master of Divinity degree. And so there's some classes where, we don't need to take this elective because it works with your degree from your seminary side, or they might pair it with a Master of Business Administration. There's a couple of classes where they intertwine, and so there's fewer total hours they have to take between the 2 degrees because there's some ways that those classes work together. So that's something that we are proud of and glad to offer students. But that's the master's degree. So let's talk a little bit about, what about when I'm here as a bachelor's student? What will I be doing? So we'll talk a little bit through the degree plan, not in a ton of detail because I don't know that you're wondering about every single course you're registered for this time. But your freshman year, you are really just focusing on getting into the Baylor experience, right? We love our Baylor line, right? You can see them there. Freshmen, we want you, as you get settled, you'll have one class that you will take actually. It's all students take a new student experience class. And so we have one for social work where we start to look at the world, look at ourselves through a lens of social justice. And what does that mean? And so that's a fun little, just 1 hour class that we jump into. That's the current structure of it. But we want you to get used to your Baylor experience, get settled, get your core classes going. But then in your sophomore year, you will take an introduction to the social work course, and then you'll take another course called Human Diversity and Leadership. These are courses that other students can take that aren't in social work, but they are required for the social work degree. And then in your sophomore year, that spring, you apply to the major officially. And then assuming you're accepted, then in your junior year, you will start to get more into the skills that go behind working with individuals and groups and organizations and communities, the practice, the skills of the practice, as well as some theories around how humans behave, what humans go through, how they work with each other, and what does that mean about the way we then engage as social workers. And then your senior year, You have an internship, 2 semesters of an internship that has you doing social work in an agency, spending 2 days a week, actually getting professional experience before you graduate. We help get you settled into that. And then you'll also take some research, policy, and data analysis classes to really help you learn all the ways about evidence-based practice and making sure what we're doing is effective. We do encourage students to take, if they want to take a minor, that's great. We have some that we offer through the School of Social Work, you can see there, but there's minors all across the university. If students are interested in studying abroad, we really encourage doing that before your junior year, doing that in your freshman or sophomore year, or using the summers for that. Because once you're in that junior year, our courses are pretty lockstep, and with the internship, it's real important to be settled and stay where you're at. So your freshman and sophomore year and summers are great opportunities for studying abroad. And the last little bit, I did mention before some classes. These we mentioned them as electives. So those first 2 classes you'll see, if you ended up getting a different major that's not social work and you're still wondering like, do I want to do social work? You can take the introduction course and the human diversity course as electives. And then if you do decide to change over to social work, those are required classes you can already check off your list. And then we've also offered this recently and probably will again, but leadership in the Enneagram, which is a way of understanding ourselves and others that some people have been really interested in. Okay, that's a lot of information to just throw at you at once. So I would love to just see if there are any questions that anyone might have. You can stick your questions into the Q&A area there, and I will try to answer them as best I can. So I'll take a minute if there are any questions that you might have about social work at Baylor and what it would be like to choose this as the path when you come to Baylor. We also have one of our social work graduates and master students here with us. So maybe it's not if you have the question about what, from a student perspective, what you might want to know, we would love to answer those for you as well. One of the questions people sometimes ask once they get into things is, what does it look like to do an internship? Maybe perhaps Megan, if we have time, could share a little bit about the internship she had location-wise, just to hear examples as a BSW and now as an MSW student. I do see an answer about a question about social work versus the psychology degree. One of the things that is unique about the social work perspective, we do study theories around neuroscience. You have to take neuroscience as a class in the BSW program. We do try to learn about psychology, sociology, some of those things, and then look at theories of development, theories of human development, Erikson, Piaget, some of the things you learn in psychology as well. But we try to focus really looking at that and broadly, so not just the person and what might be going on in the person that needs medicine or needs talking therapy through to look at things a different way, but what's going on around the person that is influencing what might be a struggle for them right now. And how do we look at the potential to not only think, how does this person think about changes to make to cope better with their environment, but what's going on in their environment that also might need to change in order to make this situation more just, more safe, more healthy. And so we look at, we talk about micro, meso, and macro, but kind of within the person and themselves, as well as their interactions with the small groups in their lives, colleagues, family, etc. But also, what's the bigger picture? What are policies in place that need to be re-examined, or what are programs that need to be built? That's all a part of the structure and the interplay that we look at in social work. So I think knowing that social work can lead you down a path to being a clinical therapist, a counselor, but it can also, the same degree, can also open up that whole list of too small font to read of other kinds of positions you can do. So we have plenty of people that go through the social work path into the master's degree to to be therapists and work in mental health and work in hospitals and counseling centers, but also folks who are policymakers, lawmakers, running nonprofits, community developers as well. Ratio of students to professors. That's a great question. We check on this every now and then because we have to answer it for some of our accreditors. I think we're around, if we do all the math, thinking about all the people we have, around 1 in 12. But again, you'll find class size that you will be, with about 15 to 20 students in your class at a time. If you major in social work, are there high school academic requirements? I'm not sure there's anything that if you get accepted to Baylor, I don't think there's any barrier that you would have into choosing social work as a major. All that you need to be able to do, you can do once you are here at Baylor. Let's see. Okay. I think I have like 4 minutes left or so. Let's see. Okay. Megan, do you mind saying the kinds of locations that you were at for your BSW and MSW internships?
Yeah, of course. So kind of like Melody was talking about, I did the BSW program at Baylor. Now I'm a graduate student, so I'm doing the 5-year plan. And in my bachelor's, in my time doing undergrad, I got to intern with communities and schools at a local junior high in Waco. And I got to do case management and work with a load of about 19 to 20 kids. And I got to meet with them weekly and just provide some one-on-one services. And now in my graduate year, I'm interning at the Children's Assessment Center in Houston, and I'm working as a family advocate with children that have been sexually abused. And I'm helping work with their caregivers to help ensure that services are all being streamlined and everything like that, and that they're getting the help that they need, and that they're just kind of knowledgeable about the different dynamics of sexual abuse and what resources are out there for them. And that has been a really great time for me so far, being able to help people in that way. And I would say that internship is kind of the highlight of the social work program, because you're getting to take all those great things that you're learning in class and you're getting to apply them with real people. And it's very fulfilling. So internship is definitely something to look forward to in your senior year. And then also if you do the master's program.
Thank you so much, Megan. And thank you all for coming to this one. I'll turn it back over to Jordan in case there's any other kinds of things to wrap up. But I hope to see each of you in the School of Social Work. Come find me, email me if you have additional questions. Be happy to get you connected to those answers.
Yes, thank you all so much for your time this out of your Saturday. We really appreciate it. If you had a question and maybe you didn't want to share it with the group, which totally understandable, or you want to talk more one-on-one, I definitely recommend that you reach out to them directly. They are a great group. Y'all recently got one of our former admissions counselors, Rachel Garcia, and she's terrific. So just wanted to shout her out for that as well. But we have Melody's email there in the chat, so y'all can grab that and ask any questions you have. But that is all we have for you. So if this is your last session with us, thank you so much for being here. If you're continuing to do more sessions with us today, then take yourself a little break, get some water to avoid Zoom fatigue, and we'll see you in a little bit. But I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday and go in peace. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.